welcome to At America. My name is Hasna. I'm one of the guests here in At America. In order to commemorate women's contributions to the society and to celebrate to kick off Women History Month celebration, which will be occurred in March, we are delighted to welcome all audience members on today's event that we'll be having Women Talks Unleashing the Power of Women in the Workforce. And for those of you who are new here and have no idea what At America is, well, At America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center, and we provide a space for young Indonesians to explore immense possibilities, experience various programs, and also to express your positive emotions. But before we begin, we have here a little social media quiz for you, and the question for today is who was the first woman to become the Secretary of Labor in the US? Is it A. Michelle Obama, B. AOC, aka Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, C. Frances Perkins, or D. Hillary Clinton? Take a guess and let us know your answer by submitting it through our social media platforms. The lucky one who can guess the answer correctly will get a live shadow from us by the end of this event. Don't forget to do that because we really like to get everyone actively involved in this event. Other than that, don't forget to take a selfie and share your best moment at America and tag us on our social media platforms. And now, without further ado, to begin our session, allow me to pass the floor to our moderator for today's session. She is Chief of Staff at Women Works. Give a round of applause for Nadira Australia.
Thank you very much, everyone. Good morning. Okay, it's nice to see everyone on a Saturday morning. Usually still in bed. Terima kasih banyak sudah menyempatkan hadir di sini hari ini buat teman-teman yang online. For those watching online, thank you for tuning in and watching our initial discussion for today. Before introducing, I would love to say a quick thank you to Ad America for providing this opportunity. And today we will have three amazing women here joining us on the panel today. So before we start, we have a quick engagement that we want to ask for your help. Buat teman-teman yang mungkin ada yang lagi streaming, yang lagi ada di tempat, boleh dibuka at mentimeter.com. Jadi untuk teman-teman, we will be sharing you the QR code. If you can actually quickly scan, HP-nya yang bawa boleh di-scan, boleh login. Kodenya di 53545441. So 53545441. Yes. I think we see quite a number of people already opening. All right. Ada yang kesulitan mungkin teman-teman yang di sini? Are you able to open it? Okay, I think so far so good. We'll have a few questions. Kita mau langsung lanjut ke pertanyaan pertama. While everyone fills it in. Maybe while we're waiting. So today, our topic itself is actually about women and compassion. Kadang-kadang kalau orang lagi ngomongin aduh leadership, aduh berat banget nih topiknya. Oh my God, it's like oh a leader, do I have to be one? How hard is it? What do I need to prepare myself? Kayaknya tanggung jawabnya tuh banyak banget. So people tend to feel a bit overwhelmed. But what we want to talk about today is to share a bit how not just being an active support system, being a friend, but also leading with compassion. Gimana sih caranya sebenarnya? Aduh selama ini aku dengar gosip, bos-bos itu takut, serem. They're so scary, you know. All of these people super strict. Mungkin nggak salah memang strict. But everyone at the end means well. And we want to kind of expose or talk about how different types of compassion and different types of leadership can help people grow. All right, before we start, maybe can we check with the Mentimeter? Are we actually good to go? Yes. So, question 1, what do you think are the challenges for women in the workplace? Kira-kira menurut teman-teman tantangannya apa sih? Yang laki-laki juga, if you're a guy, you're joining the session, please feel free to answer. We're not limited for only women to answer this. Monggo banget, boleh silakan. Opportunity. Opportunity, this is an interesting keyword. I think this is definitely a lot of people question. Gimana sih? Okay, lack of opportunity. Okay, which means we need to actively create opportunity, right? As a leader. Physical touch, huh? This is a very interesting keyword. Okay, harassment. Okay, stigma. Yeah, I was like, oh, physical touch. The glass ceiling, maternity pay. We have harassment, lack of opportunity, confidence, amazing opinions here. Thank you very much, everyone, for sharing. Please feel free to add if you have any other opinions, you have anything else you want to discuss. We will also go over a bit of this. Being a working mom, very interesting. I like how everyone's already future forward. I know we have a mentor that is a working mom here with us today, so we might get a chance to listen a bit about her journey. Physical touch, maternity. Okay, so I think we can continue forward first. A lot of these keywords are definitely topics that a lot of women hear, not just in the workforce, but just women's progress in general. And there's a lot of this stigma, a lot of this cultural impact, a lot of this social economic impact that really does shape the way that women have the opportunity to grow. Um, Maybe we can see the next question first. Okay. What can we do to support women's role in the workplace? We'll be hearing a lot more about this during the session, but I'd love to hear what our friends today think about. How can you support your own friend? How can you support your team member? How can you support yourself? Because, everything starts from yourself, right? What can we do to support women? Let's see. Okay, while we're still waiting, support and appreciate, empowerment, education, creating safe spaces, treat like same employees, equality, yes, education, highlighting of achievements. A lot of this really rings true to the concept of sponsorship in the workplace. And I think a lot of people also listen about people talking about sponsorship, or you hear the word like it's a buzzword. You hear it often, but you don't really know what it is. It's like it's a myth. Okay, what is sponsorship? Is it true? Is it there? And a lot of this actually happens behind closed doors, which means that's something that you might not see, but it's happening. Okay, so we have quite a number of answers here. Empowerment, normalizing. This is amazing. A lot of this we will also go through during our session. Can we see the next question, please? Supporting women's role. Menstrual leave. Ooh, very nice. Equality and equity. Boost morale. Ooh, listen. Education. A lot of these words are they're correlating between one another. Once you have one, automatically the other one comes hand in hand. Maybe we can see the next question first for our friends out there. Are you currently so this is the gong of the session. Are you actually feeling that you're getting support as a woman in the workplace? Yes, definitely. I guess no. Oh, it's interesting to see someone actually answered probably. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm getting support. Maybe I'm not. I'm not too sure about that. Okay, probably. I guess not. Very interesting to see that there are actually people out there highlighting the other three. I guess no, probably not sure. Hopefully, from the session today with our speakers, we'll be able to kind of help highlight a bit what it is actually getting support in the workplace and how you can actively also look for that support. Jadi teman-teman nggak perlu tunggu-tunggu aja ya. Jadi nanti kamu boleh maju duluan minta support itu. Itu nggak salah loh. It's a thing that can happen in the workplace, and that's something that we're going to share about today. All right. I think we can wait a few more seconds for a few more people. It's good to see that the majority definitely feel that they have their support, but we really do want to help those that feel that they haven't gotten it yet today. All right. Next, do you think we need to support women's role in the workplace? I will question the people that answer anything else except that. It's a very strong question. Kenapa kamu tidak merasa gitu? I would want to ask the person up front. Kalau tidak perlu, kenapa? Why do you think? Why? Okay, this is great. 10, 11, 12. Oh, it's quickly growing. Thank you everyone. Mungkin mereka takut juga ya tadi. Sedikit terancam. But yes, definitely helping or supporting women's role in the workforce. Okay, 14. This is amazing. All right. So last but not least, let's bring out the last question before we kickstart our discussion today. Do you think there are opportunities for women to have an equal role? And again, it's anonymous. Feel free, monggo, silakan. Kalau kamu merasa masih belum ada, it's okay. That's an open discussion for us to actually figure out how. Gimana sih caranya kita bisa bantu bareng-bareng. So we have not sure. I guess no. I'm happy to see there's no guess knows, which means you want to believe, you're just not sure. Okay, so we have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Maybe we can wait for a few more seconds. 13, not sure, probably any the women leaders with us here in the front will be able to share how we can actually help these women create equal roles as men in the workplace. All right. So I think we're good to go. We can wrap it all up. Thank you very much to all of our friends that have joined our mentee meter. It was very interesting to understand that I think here we're all in the same headspace where women should get equal opportunity. But again, sometimes you don't want to feel as if you're part of a problem, right? Kadang-kadang kalau kita ngerasa, oh kita nggak equal, kita nggak sama, itu karena itu adalah masalah. Sedangkan it's not exactly a problem. It is a challenge. And we want to make sure that, you know, with challenges, there comes effort. Nah, hari ini teman-teman yang di depan will be sharing a bit more about how to manage or maneuver those challenges. All right, so I'll go directly into the introduction here today. Thank you very much. For our first speaker, we have here Sarah Fatika Sari. Please, a big round of applause for Sarah. Thank you, Sarah, for joining us here today. Sarah here is the Talent Acquisition and Employer Branding Manager at Nestle. Sarah here is one of the youngest mentors on our panel today, and which is great. We can share that, you know, we can share that diversity, you know, moving up the career ladder, how you feel in certain roles and also certain parts of your role. So, Sarah, if you would want to introduce yourself.
Yes, so happy to be here. Thank you very much at America and then also Women Works for the opportunity. Nadira, Kanina, Natasha as well. So I'm Sarah. I'm currently working in one of the global FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods company, which is Nestle Indonesia. And then right now I'm looking after the talent acquisition program, including the diversity and inclusion. So maybe that's also why I'm here, because I'm also interested in this topic, and yeah, looking forward for the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for being here today. Thank you, everyone, for the round of applause. Next, we have Natasha Ariani. Natasha here is the Chief Operating Officer and co-founder of Durian Pay, and she will be sharing also a bit of her insight as a growing leader. Please, Natasha, would you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Nadira. Thanks, everyone, for being here virtually and physically. Also, at America for providing the physical space, and Women Works for always organizing such great events. So my name is Natasha, co-founder and CEO of Durian Pay. It is a B2B payment platform and software that serves businesses end-to-end needs for payments. So, you know, for businesses to accept payments and also to send payments. We're an early startup backed by Sequoia Capital and AC Ventures. I think an interesting insight that I can share today is like my co-founder is also a female woman, and I think I'll be excited to share about like what we're doing in our company, in our workplace to create a female-friendly organization, and also look forward to sharing and learning from other panelists.
Thank you very much, Natasha. Please, another round of applause for Natasha. And last but not least, we have on our panel here today Nina, Kanina Nikichio. So Nina here is now currently a holistic health and emotional eating coach. But if you would want to introduce yourself, Kanina.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so happy to be here and to share with you guys. So my name is Nina Nikichio. Before I became a holistic health and emotional eating coach, I used to have a fashion brand under my last name, which is Nikichio, for 10, 11 years. So I used to be in fashion industry and then shift career to health and wellness industry. And I'm excited to just about to share about how are you going to achieve that personal and professional goals in life, and how you're gonna have a work-life balance. Because I think that's what we all want in this life, right? Yeah. So that's that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nina. Big round of applause for all panelists today. So, before we start, tak kenal seperti biasa, maka tak sayang. So, I think everyone has gone through their introductions, but we would love to understand a bit more about how your career journey came to be. So, I think where you started from and then who you are today. What were the main challenges I guess you would have gone through? Maybe we can start from Sarah first.
Thank you, Nadira. So this is a very interesting question because it made me reflect to my past, and it actually gave me a lot of learnings, banyak sekali pelajaran yang bisa diambil. Kalau boleh di sum up sedikit, it was inspired by a failure when I was in college. So waktu itu lagi apa namanya apply buat jadi president director buat di student organization, but unfortunately I wasn't chosen back then. And then I shift my ambition to applying to an internship opportunity di fast moving consumer goods company juga. Back then di 2016 mungkin belum terlalu banyak internship opportunity ya, Nadira dan kakak-kakak sekalian di sini. And then I feel like that was the opportunity that God has saved for me so that I can focus on starting a career in FMCG. So that's where I fell in love with HR, talent acquisition, employer branding, people development, diversity and inclusion, and everything. And then I applied for management trainee, HR, in FMCG as well. But again, I got rejected. I failed in the final interview. But turns out they offered me to try this temporary job opportunity as an employer branding and D&I specialist, and I took that actually. I didn't feel like um, I didn't feel like I wasn't worthy for the opportunity, so I took anything as long as I can, got into the global FMCG company and remembering my motivation. And then it was actually a temporary opportunity for only 1 year, and then temporary opportunities like super duper concerning because mostly you don't know where to go next. But maybe because some of my work also got sponsored and promoted to other stakeholders outside the company, and then I tried to apply for this opportunity at Nestle, and that's where it finally got me. So from failure and then turning tables and then trying very hard, trying my best to get on track again. I was also trusted by my leaders in HR in Nestle to pursue an opportunity in the regional team last year. So another proof of the real sponsorship and endorsement that I got from the male leaders even. And then, yeah, here I am now to be maybe one of the fulfilling experience that I can share with you guys. So failure is not the end of everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I'd love to ask actually a bit before moving to Natasha. You mentioned also that you felt directly, right, the impact of what is called sponsorship. So when sponsorship happens, I think a lot of people out there hear that it happens behind closed doors. And how is it that you're actually aware, right, that sponsorship was able, or sponsorship was the thing that got you to where you are today?
I see. Thank you, Naira. So I noticed that somebody also mentioned about culture and one of the challenge when we are empowering women in the workplace. So I guess that's one of the beneficial thing that I realized maybe just for the past 2 years, because I chose the right company to work for, because they have really transparent and open culture for everyone. So not only for certain employees, but also for everyone, even me, one of the youngest employee, temporary employee, and then they gave me the opportunity. So I think sponsorship can be given through challenges and opportunity. So when I first joined, maybe in my first 6 months, I guess, di 6 bulan pertama, as a temporary employee, aku sudah diberikan global project di situ. And it was beyond my job desk. They never told me when they hire me because one of the permanent team members needs to resign, and then I back up because it was also out of my curiosity. And turns out for the next 7 months, they recognized my contribution, and I think that's where the sponsorship came. When the challenge and the opportunity come and we're ready to get it and we prove it, and there they give the sponsorship, they recognize our contribution, and they promote it to either other team members or the higher team, like the regional and the global team. And yeah, I think I hope that's sufficient.
Yes, of course. No, thank you very much, Sarah. So, what we would like to highlight, or one amazing thing I think we got from Sarah's story is that it does happen behind closed doors, but it doesn't close the fact that you're actually out there reaching forward. Jadi buat teman-teman tadi kan kita sempat bahas sedikit di depan, kalau misalnya kesempatan itu tidak hanya dibuat, tapi kita juga meraih. So we're actively looking for that opportunity. We're actively reaching our hands out. We're moving one, two, three steps forward. And those are actually things that kind of help back up the fact that people will be looking at you and saying, hey, you know what? This person has been doing an amazing job. I would love to tell everyone else about it. We should celebrate it, right? And celebrating our successes is something that can also be embedded in company culture. So, moving forward, as someone who's running her own company, here we have Natasha. I think the same question for now. If you can share a bit about your journey, how it helped you to become where you are today, and any challenges specifically that kind of helped you there.
Right. Thanks for the question. I think such a great question because we all have very diverse panelists going through different career journey. My journey actually involves a career pivoting, like Nina here, and so I think it also actually happened in the United States. So I decided that I wanted to shift career. So my experience at the time mostly was, I was academically and, professionally working in the public sector. So I had worked for the government of Indonesia for around 3 years before I decided to shift. So I pursued master's degree in America and worked and, living there. And living, working, studying in America had given me, great experience, and it was like very eye-opening. I think, there's a lot of, hope and optimism in the air, but probably because I live in New York and not elsewhere. No, but jokes aside, I think United States is a great place for people who want to pursue a different career or just, to find themselves due to its, generally the social and economic mobility is quite high, higher than most countries, higher than Indonesia. I think at OECD it ranks number 27 in terms of social mobility, and the higher list is dominated by European countries. Jadi kayak Denmark gitu ya, atau Ireland atau apa. Tapi mungkin nggak apple to apple ya kalau dibedain sama United States due to its size and scale. But what I'm saying is that, at the time, like career pivoting is something that is very common actually in the US. Maybe not so common here, but I think it gets more common. It is getting more common. So what I did there was like I was, I knew my gaps. I knew my, what I needed to get to where I wanted, which is, tech or fintech more specifically. So I took classes that were related to, fintech, tech, entrepreneurial journey, from product market fit, financial accounting, et cetera, et cetera. And then essentially applied to many internships. It was actually more than 70, if I can recall, and also applied to over 60 companies when I, graduated, et cetera. So like it was such a journey, and obviously wasn't easy because I think these days, when you interview for something that you had never done before, no, first of all, you're discouraged because, oh, I don't have the experience, I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the yada yada yada, right? But then I just sort of just push through and see where it sticks, see where it lands. So in my journey of like applying to like these roles that I had never had any experience on. I try to make my projects, my courses relevant. And to illustrate the type of companies that I was, applying for, it was, Uber, Google, Airbnb, Grab, I think Gojek. So I was looking for like some global regional companies at the time. I think I interviewed with around 15-ish companies, and including Google, Uber, Airbnb, and but I landed. I ended up choosing C Limited, which is a company, which is a parent company of Shopee. So then I went on from New York to Singapore to do the job. But yeah, it was such a long and winded journey, like require like consisting of like multiple breakdowns and self doubt, But like I think it's super worth it, and I think I owe like a lot of what I have today to that experience when I was in the U.S. And also the like embedded knowledge that I got from the experience.
Thank you very much, Natasha. And a quick follow-up question on that one. So you mentioned that pivoting, especially during that time, was something that wasn't as common, right, for people in Indonesia. What would you say really, I guess, solidified the fact that, oh, you know what? I think taking a leap of faith to actually pivot is the right thing for me.
Right. I think a huge part of that is passion. So like I feel like you need the drive and passion, right? Say technical hard skills are obviously important to do the job. Any hard skills, right? When you're in HR, for example, you need to learn about the undang-undang ketenagakerjaan. You need to know about the peraturan pemerintah, whatever, right? That's hard skills. You can learn, right? But passion and drive and like all these things that you can't. That's something that you have, right? So it cannot be learned. So I think like that was a huge part of what caused like or what sort of motivated me throughout the journey.
All right. Thank you very much, Natasha. It's a very interesting opportunity to hear more about your journey, and I think we can dig a bit more later on. Last but not least, of course, Nina, we'd love to hear about your journey and especially your pivot, something that I think has already been touched a bit upon, but we'd love to hear a bit more about it.
Okay. So I basically become a holistic health coach because it was because of personal reason, failure actually. So the business that I've been doing for like 10 years is not doing very well, and then by the end of 2018, my I had relationship issues with my ex husband, and then everything just crumbled down. Then it wasn't pretty. I think it was one of the lowest point in my life, but it actually woke me up to the point that, and then took gave me a courage to go within and take the journey within and ask myself whether this is something that I really want to do, or is this something that I just use to perform. So it turns out that fashion industry is just and having my own brand, and even though it was wonderful and great, and I thought it was my passion, because I really wanted to become a fashion designer and had my own fashion label since I was junior high. But then, at the age of what, I don't know, in 2018, 2 kids later, and then I found out that hey, I was just performing. I was just trying to prove to everyone that that I can do it, that I can make money out of it, make a career out of it. And then turns out after I had, the journey within and then a wake up call and everything, and then, turns out that I really like just to coach people and listen to people's stories and to help them to become a better person. And that just came from, from self-awareness and knowing your worth and knowing that this is really what makes me happy. Because really it was really different. I think if you could see me before in 2018 and then now, it was just God, it was just different. You know.
All right. Thank you very much, Kanina. I have one follow-up question for that specifically. So you mentioned that you were performing, right? And then a lot of people tend to question, like, how do I actually validate that, what I'm doing is not for myself? Or I don't really get what I enjoy? Or is it a chapter of my life, right? So is there any specific thing that you went through that
Mhm.
maybe our friends here can learn from?
Sure. So basically, what I did, of course, therapy. I went to a lot of therapy. I changed my routine. I used to be the unhealthiest person that I knew of. Like my morning routine used to consist of cigarettes, alcohol, and coffee, and that's it. And now I'm wake up. I meditate. I mean, it's such a stark difference. But other than that, I really went to therapy, and then I work on myself until I found like this is the answer. I was just performing, and it came from a trauma, and then after that, then just then finding the right career, and the kind of work that I really want to do for long term. It's just and also accepting the fact that change is just part of your life. Yes, now maybe this is what you want to do now, but 10 years later, or maybe even 2 years or next year, and then if you want to change, it's okay. I used to think that no, once you're in fashion industry and that's it, you have to stay there. And then when I failed, it really hits me. But actually, if one door closes, another door opens. So it's not so bad at all.
Thank you very much for that reminder, Nina. So, for the friends out here, it's okay if you feel different than you feel today. It's okay if you feel different 2 years later, maybe the next day. Itu nggak masalah karena memang kita manusia dinamis. We wake up every day. We are a new person every day, especially if you work on it. And I think a big PSA is yes, therapy is good for you. I think a lot of people out there kind of highlight when we're talking about change that you don't want to be vulnerable, you don't want to have people to lean on. And a lot of stories that I have heard and have gone through have actually highlighted quite differently. You need to have that support system. You need to have the people that you can lead on. You need to have those people that you believe in, that you go to, but you also need to be your own person. So, the next question, a bit on that, is that I think a lot of people highlight like, oh, quarter life crisis, right? Oh my God, 25, what am I gonna do? What's next for my life? Aku baru 25, baru lulus ngapain lagi ya, gitu. But I think what we wanted to hear now, and quarter life crisis isn't exactly like, oh my God, 25, and then it ends in that year. It's like the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years after that. So, is there any specific challenge or story that maybe all three panelists have gone through, hitting that quarter life, I guess? And of course, it can be something that's still ongoing, but that you wish you could share with our friends here. So, like, oh, I wish I knew this when I was 25, or I wish I knew this when I was going through it. Maybe we can start from whoever wants to go first. Thank you. That
Since
boleh
that I'm
dari
the
sana ya.
oldest, probably. Okay. When I was 25, I actually didn't have. I don't think I have that because I was in the top of my career. I had everything that you could want that I could wanted, like career. I had sold out fashion shows, sold out stocks. I was in the top of my career. Basically, I had money. I can travel anywhere, buy anything that I want, wear anything, go anywhere, go to any clubs that I want to go. So basically, it was really the top and the peak of my life by 20s, and then I think I had my quarter life crisis. It was on 29 when I got pregnant. I had my baby, my first daughter. It was just like, it turns out that, hey, not what I used to think. This is not it. This is not it. But I wish I knew that I should not sacrifice myself for a career. I wish I knew that.
That's a very powerful reminder. You should not sacrifice yourself for your career. And there's many ways to do that. Jadi buat teman-teman jangan jangan anggap ke, oh you should not sacrifice yourself for your career. Udah aku nggak lembur. Loh, bentar. That's not the approach that we're emphasizing here, yeah, by the way. We still want you to be responsible. But yes, understanding what you want to do, where you're going, and having, I guess, the opportunity to actually figure out, right, along the way. You might not know it today, but you might know it in the next week, in the next month. We don't know. As long as you consistently work on it, that's something that you will stumble upon. But maybe next we can hear from Natasha's point of view.
Sure. So I think it is related to the career pivoting that happened. I was actually around 25 when that happened. So I knew that I wanted to shift work field as well. So then namanya manusia ya pasti ada ngerasa a bit inferior, kayak how am I gonna start there, because kayak orang-orang lain misalnya they have like all these management consulting background or whatever project management background that I didn't have at the time. Tapi one thing that I wish I knew that could make me feel less secure is that there's no point being inferior because I think tadi related juga to what Nina said. Know your worth, right? So then I think it applies to every situation. Know your worth. There's never too late to start anything. You're never late. It's not a race. Actually, most successful entrepreneur, the average age is 45. It's not 25. It's 45. Gitu. So Warren Buffett started at 40, right? He's now like I don't know, he's 90 or something. He's 80 probably. Jadi never feel that like oh you're too is too late to start something or is too jadi apa ya? I think there's something that's called sunk cost fallacy that I always share to my friends or like whoever wants to listen. Sunk cost meaning kayak oh udah 4 tahun nih belajar psikologi. Kalau misalnya sekarang mau manajemen consulting emang bisa, emang cocok gitu, emang nyambung gitu kan. Iya, jadi there's always this fixed mindset of like, oh, but my parents want me to become a doctor, or my parents want me, like I mean, it's great that you love your parents. You should, you're here because of them. But it's I mean, especially these days and age ya, itu bisa dibicarain kan. Nggak harus kayak you become something because of someone else, because of societal pressure, because of your peers, because of your anyone. Jadi I think those are some tips that I think apply to all age and generation.
Thank you very much, Natasha. Jadi teman-teman, it's never too late. Memang percaya it's better late than never, but please don't come to a meeting late at half an hour. Itu better never aja. Like better not to do that at all. But I think one main thing that I really resonate with what Natasha shared is that no matter where you are, no matter what role you're in, no matter terserah mau belajar bisa dari sekolah, kuliah, ya kan kerja. Like every step of your life there will always be someone who is I guess the ideal person you want to be. Ah, aku pengen kayak si A, aku pengen deh kayak si B. Aduh, aku kuliah, si A kuliahnya di sini, si B kuliahnya di sini. Oh, I wish I were them. Like if that's what you're pursuing, that's what you're chasing, it never ends. Gitu. Dan buat teman-teman yang udah ada di sini, for other people they might be wishing they were you. Mungkin aku pengen deh datang acara at America Sabtu. Mungkin ada yang sebenarnya berharap kayak gitu dan teman-teman yang di sini, especially those online, offline, getting yourself here, being here today, that's already part of the growth and the progress that you're doing, right? So let's ask Sarah.
Thank you, Nadira. Maybe just a disclaimer. Maybe we're in the same age right
Yes,
now.
yes, correct.
So, when I turned 25, I think it was 20 in the year of 2020 when the pandemic struck first year. My hardest struggle was to make sure that I deliver. So deliver my personal goal, my professional goal, deliver the expectation coming from the workplace, from my personal expectation as well from my parents and so on and so on. And then if I can go back in time to tell my 25 years old self, I wanna tell her that you should have read this book called Gratitude Journal by Janice Kaplan, and this book called Growth Mindset by Dr. Carol S. Dweck. They're both coming from Yale University. So I read that book just recently, and I wish I read it earlier because, like kakak just said right now, I mean, change is very inevitable, and then it's very normal, and then it's not that hard to ignore the insecurity and self-imposter. So I was struggling with that because all the too much social media that I consumed during that year because pandemic, right? We cannot go anywhere. And then yeah, that's my the 2020 was the year where I fell in love to read like physical books. So I changed my mindset. I changed the way I express my gratitude to everyone, to God as well. And that's where I found like it's okay to to fail today or like to not deliver to the maximum point today. You can try it tomorrow. You can try it next week. You can try it next year. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Sarah. It's a very, I think, kind reminder for everyone that, it's never too late to try. Kalau masih berlanjut, masih ada waktu, kenapa nggak coba-coba lagi? I think one common topic that I hear a lot when people are talking is that, oh, I wish I did this. Ya kan? Aku berharap harusnya kemarin aku gini. Harusnya kemarin aku gitu. And then my question would always be like, then why didn't you try it? Right? Like the worst thing that can come, yes, rejection hurts and it hurts a lot. Like it's a very familiar feeling, but don't you want to answer that what if? Right? Kayak kadang-kadang orang penasaran and they think about it, itu kayak apa? Kalau orang bilang, aduh aku kepikiran pengen beli jaket ini, kamu coba pikirin dulu 3 hari, kalau 3 hari masih ada, kepikiran ya udah kamu beli. It's the same thing, right? Like sometimes you have certain goals that you're like, oh I think about it, tahun depan masih kepikiran, tahun depannya lagi masih kepikiran. And then you're like, why are you not? Like, why are you not trying it? Kenapa nggak coba aja? It doesn't mean that you're applying or you're doing something mediocre. Sorry, sorry about that. But in a mediocre way. But we want to make sure that when we're growing, we're actually able to also emphasize in ourselves that, oh, this is something that I want to try. Kapan lagi sih kalau nggak sekarang? You don't know, right, actually, where you are next year. You don't know where you are next month. If you had the opportunity, why didn't you just pursue it then and there? Ya kan? Itu biasanya orang banyak banget yang takut banget di reject. Lalu aku takut tolak. Padahal kalau ditolak ya udah ditolak. And then you move on.
Actually, it's good kalau misalnya ditolak. So then you know, right?
Yes,
Rather than living
exactly.
in the uncertainty. Kalau misalnya when you live in uncertainty, then you'll get anxious about it, and then you you actually have to have a lot more energy to face your anxiousness, and then might as well know the answer right here, right now.
True. True. Agree 100% with what Nina just mentioned. Better to know the here and the now. Jadi saat ini teman-teman mungkin lagi persiapan sesuatu. Kalau nggak dijalanin, kapan kita bisa tahu? Ya kan? Alright, so moving on forward. Maybe this is a bit tailored to Sarah specifically. We have a few questions here. But I would love to understand that you mentioned you have a support system or the team was amazing in supporting you in the workforce. How do you feel that you benefited from it? And what kind of support do you feel you actually receive? Karena kadang-kadang teman-teman tuh banyak yang aku ngerasa sih didukung tapi so there I think I'm getting support. I'm not sure if I'm getting support. Kayak mungkin tadi di Mentimeter masih banyak juga yang apakah ini adalah bentuk support ya kan? How can you or how did you go through that? And what do you feel when you got that support?
Thank you, Nadira. Maybe we can start by the term self-awareness. Tadi Kak Nina juga sudah sempat mention. Kenapa self-awareness? Karena definisi support itu apa dulu gitu. Kadang kan mungkin waktu dulu aku 7 tahun yang lalu, aku berpikir support adalah kayak kalau kita sedih itu selalu dipuk-puk, kalau kita kesusahan itu selalu dibantu, kalau kita lapar selalu disuapin. That support that I thought back then. Turns out recently I realized waktu kemarin dipercaya untuk go on a mission ke regional team, support for me means that you've given the challenge, you've trusted to pursue a challenge. Karena sebenarnya resiko kalau misalkan kita ada issue related to attitude maybe atau behavior atau kita maybe fail di mission itu yang yang kena ibaratnya itu bukan cuman kita doang tapi the ones who supported us gitu, the ones who sponsored us and endorsed us. So please define the term support dulu nih buat kita tuh sebenarnya apa. Nah mungkin kalau dulu buat aku itu ya tadi disuapin ibaratnya, tapi ternyata sekarang dicemplungin tuh ternyata disupport gitu. Dicemplungin means kayak dikasih project yang kita belum pernah, dikasih challenge yang kita nggak ngerti apa-apa, ternyata itu support gitu because they would like to know how far can we go. Nanti kalau udah tenggelam banget, udah tinggal nyawanya di sisa kayak 10%, baru dibantuin gitu. Nah jadi nggak langsung dibantuin karena aku juga lagi baca buku judulnya Range by David Epstein kalau nggak salah, belum selesai baca. Tapi the best learning that we can get is actually from the experience that we've never been exposed to. So ternyata itu support dari apa namanya atasan-atasan aku dan juga the team at the office yang selama ini mungkin kayak terdefine-nya tuh kayak aduh dikasih kerjaan lagi yang kayak gue belum pernah ngerjain gitu atau challenge lagi yang gue nggak ngerti dan lain sebagainya. Ternyata pas kesini tuh oh iya bener juga ya. So I learn a lot of things because they trust me to do things that I've never done before. So itu dulu sih mungkin Nat.
Okay. So when you are given the opportunity to do something that you haven't done before, and then again, mungkin kita tenggelam dulu ya, kelelep gitu. Nah, when you go through that, a lot of people also sometimes are unable to come back from that. Now, what was the thing, the one thing, or like what were the few things that helped you believe in yourself to go through that process?
First time I didn't. I didn't believe that I could. But I learned that actually if you scream for help, people would help you. Karena kadang aku ngerasa dulu kayak, aduh gue bakal ngerepotin nih bos gue gitu kalau gue nanya. Atau gue bakal ngerepotin the team nih kalau minta bantuan. Atau apa namanya flagging SOS gitu. Sebenarnya kalau misalkan kita ngerasa kita lagi apa ya di SOS situation, just ask for help gitu. Kadang itu yang suka kita lupa sih dan aku juga dulu suka lupa gitu dan mungkin kalau di workplace situation most of people are busy gitu mungkin nggak semua orang conveying that kalau lo kesusahan sini gue bantuin gitu atau jangan lupa bilang ya atau jangan lupa nanya ya kalau misalkan perlu gitu sebenarnya tanpa mereka bilang seperti itu karena kita tahu culture-nya sudah open dan transparent jadi ya sebenarnya nanya aja nggak apa-apa gitu mungkin itu sih yang aku pelajari di for the last 3-4 years ke belakang sebenarnya if you need support then ask for support karena kita juga nggak bisa berharap orang tuh cenayang sama kita gitu kayak oh ya nih anak butuh dibantuin nih gitu atau oh ya nih anak tenggelam nih even my boss said that bluntly gitu if you don't ask for help then I wouldn't help you because I don't know kalau misalkan kamu butuh bantuan gitu itu sih mungkin jadi first time I didn't believe in myself and then I tried my best untuk cobain sendiri and then I was drowned. Ternyata pas cerita di kayak review akhir tahun gitu, kenapa nggak ngomong gitu. Kan I can assign somebody juga buat bantuin kamu atau kita bisa cari intern dan lain sebagainya. And I was like, oh my god, stupid me gitu.
No, I think in that situation, there's nothing, categorized as dumb because you don't know. You don't know what you don't know, right, di sana. Dan kayak sering kali terjadi, especially when I think you grow up being independent and you're used to working on things alone, you don't have the tendency to ask for help. Dan sering kali kita juga ngerasa, bahkan gak usah di kerjaan deh, kadang kita ibaratnya lagi di rumah, aduh baru pulang nih belanja mingguan, terus kayak semuanya dipegang. Jadi like everything you put in your hands, they're like, kok bisa sendiri kok, and then you're like, why don't you ask like whoever's around you kayak boleh nggak minta tolong gitu kakaknya, adiknya, siapanya gitu kan, mungkin ada mbaknya gitu kan. And then you're like, no, I can do it by myself. And then you bring all your groceries inside. Like, why would you do that, right? Nah, kayak gitu. Jadi itu it's a very very relevant, I think, experience in sharing how you reach out for help and also having that culture. Maybe talking about company culture a bit, and I think we would love to hear from Natasha maybe around this one. Do you have any specific like experiences in like the strategy or like how colleagues are actually helping support one another, celebrating each other's success? How does that help you and your team grow?
Right. So I'm lucky and blessed to have a female co-founder. So on most of these things, we see eye to eye. Ya. Jadi kayak how to shape the company culture, how to shape the work culture. And like we have the belief that like ini bukan cuman kita doang ya, tapi sekarang tuh ada yang namanya ESG rating. Jadi ESG rating itu includes diversity inclusion rating juga. Jadi nggak semuanya tentang climate change, tapi ada juga those like intinya yang non financial, non economic metrics semua dilamsam ke ESG. So a lot of the investors these days itu mereka sama LP-nya atau sama orang yang limited partners yang invest ke investors ini biasanya dimintain kerjain yang namanya ESG reports. So now like even smaller companies like us itu juga semua pasti diminta gitu. Tapi even without that, um, we the founders believe that we want to create an inclusive environment, female friendly organization. Inklusif secara apa namanya harafiah itu maksudnya 50-50. Women sama apa namanya men and women equal di leadership positions and secara statistic numbers di overall workforce gitu ya. I think I can share some of the written policies that we have at Durian Pay that I would say that help us get to inclusivity on an inclusive workplace. Satu is that we enforce menstruation leave day. Menstrual leave day we enforce. This is not mandatory, meaning like if it's your first day, you don't feel anything, you can take it, you can not take it. It's totally up to you. It's not mandatory, but it's there if you want. Dua, we enforce the same amount of paternity leave as well as maternity leave. Kenapa? Karena kalau misalnya, jadi terlepas dari yang perempuan bekerja di Durian P atau tidak, tapi kan laki-lakinya juga perlu dikasih kesempatan untuk take care of the newborn baby, right? Because we believe, or I believe that the newborn baby is a responsibility of the parents, not just the mom, gitu. So we want to give like the dads or the male equal opportunity to take care of the newborn baby. Third is upskilling. Jadi we budget for courses or any of the extracurricular activity that the employees want to take to upskill because we see that like actually especially ini ya misalnya new entry level employees misalnya mereka dari background yang sangat berbeda terus di pekerjaan mereka diminta untuk mengerjakan sesuatu yang berbeda mereka biasanya agak inferior agak imposter syndrome, am I doing it right, am I doing it wrong, blah blah. So then taking these courses from anywhere everywhere could be helpful. And actually I think the budget is mostly absorbed by women in the company right now. Ada yang misalnya belajar apa sih misalnya Coursera apalah statistik lah Python lah anything that they want to learn. Fourth is zero tolerance policy, right? And any comments, remarks, jokes that make women uncomfortable are not welcome. Jadi tadi physical touch, not happening. Not happening. And then fifth is hybrid work policy. Jadi nggak harus work from office, but we do hybrid. But the policy to say meet physically itu biasanya ditentukan oleh the functional teamnya atau the squad gitu. Jadi I think that's more enforceable ya, rather than like the whole company has to come on Tuesdays and Thursdays gitu. That's very tough. So that's the policy, and I think this we've been getting good feedbacks on these policies because so they don't most of the employees don't need to commute like for 3-4 hours every day, and then like say the newlyweds can cook at home and stuff like that, and they can take care of their family or loved ones. So those are some of the written policies that we have. We also have some unwritten policies um, that we try to enforce. One is being try to hire a female whenever possible. So to achieve like all these equal number of female leaders in the organization, it's not going to happen by accident. We have to keep putting our efforts towards it dan harus consciously do it gitu. Jadi apa namanya ya memang saat interview apa segala macam kalau bisa hire yang female. Jadi misalnya kayak ada yang on par gitu ya, hire-nya female. Semacam affirmative action ya sebenarnya, tapi it's needed gitu. It's very needed karena kalau nggak gitu, yang female nggak bakal istilahnya ya kita nggak bakal pernah equal if that's not happening gitu kan. So that's the other one is that we're trying to have a well-equipped restroom. We just moved building because of that. So our old building only had 2 women cubicles in one floor. When 2 women cubicles in one floor, so that was very tough. And now we just moved building in Jan, and now it has 5 women cubicles in one floor. It's well equipped with all of all things necessary. So I think it's helpful for the overall well-being for the employees. So yeah, I hope that's helpful.
Thank you very much. And thank you for sharing not just your journey, but a lot of how the company itself is actually building upon what you believe in and what what the founders believe in. Um, I have actually a follow-up question for that one specifically, Natasha. When you mentioned no tolerance policy, right? Zero tolerance policy. There's a lot of discussion in many companies where they are a bit confused, I guess, in a way, on how to implement it in terms of like what is actually categorized as, uncomfort. What is categorized as, oh, ini butuh ditegur, ini enggak, ini, is this actually true? Is this not, But are there specific guidelines towards how you kind of minimize that?
Well, I guess kalau misalnya verbal mungkin agak susah, right? Tapi I think it has a lot to do with precedence gitu. Jadi apa yang secara presiden kita normalize, apa yang enggak gitu kan. So I think one way to do it is to create a safe space for the women in the company to have a direct line to leadership and for HR to also like say to do regular pulse check, say one-on-ones with the leaders or like to make it like a safe space for anyone to be able to speak up and come up like if they feel that they've been wronged in any way lah gitu. Gak cuma buat female but also for the male as well. So I think some other things that we also implement is that for all, and I think this can be also implemented in other companies, like, we encourage for all of the junior female employees to have a direct line to a female leader, meskipun beda function atau beda divisi gitu. Jadi paling nggak biar ngobrol aja. You can implement like a female buddy system or whatever gitu. So then like itu tadi women empower women gitu loh. Jadi that's to create that cycle.
If I may also share something, thank you, Kak Natasha. I think I'm very happy to to listen to all this ESG stories because it doesn't only happen to like established company right now, but people are FOMO sekarang.
We
Tapi
try, we
yeah,
try.
good FOMO. I think it's a good
We
FOMO.
try.
It's a good trend to follow. It's a good trend to implement because it's getting visible. It's getting in the surface right now. So regarding the zero tolerance, I think just to add on Natasha's sharing, and this is also our experience in HR. So right now at Nestle, we put the talent succession and talent hiring as a KPI. So we also do the same like you. So we really educate our user like Pak Bu, ini kalau ada 3, 2-nya harus perempuan gitu. Apalagi kalau di kami fokusnya tuh di manufacturing. So women in STEM is actually our priority because all in all we are a manufacturing company and we really want to create safe space di pabrik terutama karena kan mungkin kalau kita ngomong pabrik gitu kan orang udah kayak aduh pabrik tuh apa ya gitu tempatnya kayak gimana banyak apa namanya lebih banyak laki-lakinya daripada perempuannya dan lain sebagainya. So that's very good. And then in the learning and development part, we also make this 2 mandatory trainings as KPI as well, terutama probation KPI. Jadi kalau nggak dilakukan, nggak lulus probation, ada namanya anti-sexual harassment sama unconscious bias. So dan itu juga nggak hanya one way training di video training, tapi itu juga kita ingetin terus gitu. Ada campaignnya, so annually we would have International Women's Day celebrated at our office, Hari Ibu, terus abis itu Hari Kartini juga. Karena pengen campaigning those policy written and also unwritten. So really happy to see the trend coming. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tenang teman-teman, berarti banyak kesempatan untuk keluar sana untuk mencari tempat that's women friendly. In a way, that's what we can say. Like it's a woman friendly company. It's a woman friendly place to work. And a lot of these policies have been growing to actually enable and to grow the number of women having the opportunity and possibility to be in the workforce. So I think we've heard a lot from the professional side. So we've heard a lot about, okay, this is the type of companies you can work at. This is how you can find support in a workplace. But we would also love to hear from Nina, I think a bit more on how is it? You also mentioned that part of your story is that you wish you knew that you wouldn't sacrifice yourself, right, for work. Where I think we've heard a lot on how we can pursue professionalism. But do you have any specific tips or tricks that can maybe help us achieve that balance and understanding? Besides, of course, as you mentioned, right, therapy, but are there active activities or are there active, things that people can maybe try out or do to go there?
One word for that, actually, boundaries. Boundaries, because boundaries is we create that boundary. It's we are the one who says this is okay, this is not okay, and then actively says that, you know what, this is what I need, this is what I want, is what we actually need in workplace. I mean, it's great, especially if you get like this kind of support from, the company. But especially if you're, even though so, if you have this tendency to, you know what, oh, I want to be a good employee, and then just, sacrificing yourself and then taking more projects that you should have not. Terus jadinya makanya jadi again, jadinya burnout. Again, akhirnya jadinya nggak bisa. Jadinya terus saya itu ngerasa kok gue nggak disupport ya, kok gue jadi tetap capek ya gitu. Padahal sebenarnya dirinya sendiri yang sebenarnya tidak mengimplement or make that boundary. Simple things, for example, I have this boundary misalnya for myself ya, I'm not gonna take any clients on Monday gitu. I'm not going to take any clients more than 12 clients in a week, for example. And for you, for example, if you are a professional in a company, then you can say that, you know what, I'm not gonna work um, above 5 p.m., for example. There are a lot of, I mean, I have clients that work in a company yang have that rules already, but they still stay and then work at home and then do the presentations they for tomorrow and whatever, and then that's not good at all. I mean, if you say that you're gonna stop working at 5, then stop working at 5. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's the boundaries is basically us looking at ourselves and what is this box in ourselves that we are trying to fit in. Gitu. Because there, and then if, for example, if you're entrepreneur, then you can say that, you know what, I'm not going to get paid any less than what I actually like deserve. I'm not gonna discount myself. That kind of thing. Yeah, I think that's it.
So I think with boundaries, Kanina, and a lot of us struggle with it. I think, especially when you're early in your career, teman-teman baru mulai kerja atau mungkin baru 2 tahun, 3 tahun, 5 tahun gitu kerja. You kind of have that mindset where to get where I want to be, I need to give overtime. But I also remember that a lot of people also, apalagi zaman WFO ya. Jadi maksudnya, oke kita datang jam 9, and then you take a lunch break, and then the lunch break runs over. And then you end up working overtime. I'm like, ya kalian juga istirahatnya. I mean, sometimes for me, it's also trying to understand, I guess, like, okay, what are you prioritizing, right? When you were mentioning boundaries, sometimes when people say, oh, I have a boundary to stop working at 5, but then they also don't get work done in the middle of the day, and then it becomes a question mark, ya kan? Kayak apakah sebenarnya beginilah cara jalannya boundaries gitu. Apakah beginilah caranya kita bisa mengerjakan ini? Karena I think especially for me, I work with a lot of people that are abroad also. So we kind of shift our time zone, right? Mau nggak mau kita kerja, 12, 1 a.m. You're kind of working with them, doing calls with them and whatnot. And then you realize kayak, oh, orang-orang jam segini tidur ya. Like people are sleeping at this time. But then I think for thankfully gitu, the work also allows me to start later misalkan. Jadi having companies or having workplaces that kind of give you that understanding is very helpful, and then also having that flexibility. Karena ternyata aku baru dengar juga kayak aku punya teman, okay, this person let's say works almost let's say day like early morning and then late night, jadinya tengah hari dia kosong. And that's allowed, like, oh ya udah nggak apa-apa gitu, it's flexible time. And I think that's like an example of also like the boundary that they set, right? Oh ya udah gue kan udah kerja malam dan pagi and I deliver, and you should respect that gitu, the fact that I'm there. Okay, but thank you so much Kanina for sharing and reminding us about boundaries, teman-teman. Mungkin nanti kalau ada pertanyaan lanjut boleh ditanyakan juga. I know that this boundary topic is something that's always usually very interesting for a lot of people. We have a few more questions before we wrap up the talk show part. But for Sarah, do you have any strategies outside of let's say ESG, but because you're in HR specifically, right? You're actually actively pursuing these women, you're helping them. Do you have any specific strategies in supporting them or opportunities that you're providing them or concerns that have been brought up to you and your team that you hope other people out there don't kind of, I guess, repeat that?
Thank you, Nadira. Maybe it's not really like a formal company strategy, but I actually observe some of the trends today, especially after this pandemic situation. Karena kan teman-teman yang baru lulus terutama kebanyakan kuliahnya virtual, and then they have challenges in developing courage and
Yeah.
also confidence. But again, we want women to join the workforce. We want to hire women, but the basic requirements, they need to be confident and they need to have courage, right? That's the nowhere to go issue, nowhere to go challenge. But so in employer branding, we also create opportunities for external talents. For now, we focus on students, especially in the female engineers. Again, because we really want to promote this, women in STEM opportunities. We have this safe space, we have this technology, we have this support within the company if you want to join us. And we also give them some, self-development support. Jadi kalau di Nestle kita ada yang namanya Visit the Nest. Itu juga kita mengundang non-employee, teman-teman yang bukan intern kita juga untuk datang 1 hari di company kita buat belajar tadi self development, terus juga sebenarnya kerjanya product line manager tuh ngapain sih sebenarnya, kalau di pabrik tuh kayak gimana sih environmentnya, atau kayak quality assurance tuh di FMCG tuh ngapain sih gitu, because they simply don't know, that's why they're scared gitu. So we try to accommodate this. So that's first, and then the second one, we explain to them what it's like to grow with the company. So bukan hanya kerja-kerja aja gitu ya. Even though kita kadang ya, again kayak Nadira juga, kita follow some other markets buat their time zone, and sometimes they follow us as well. Itu juga kita kasih tahu gitu. So kalau misalkan kita ngomongin tentang hiring, is actually finding the right person to be placed in the right job or right workplace or whatever. And we try to give them this transparency. If you feel like you are to pursue this opportunity at Nestle, then this is all the package. So in order for you to be able to take it, then we have this program, this program, this program. And maybe one of the thing that I really like to talk about with students gitu. Di tempat kami ini kalau maternity leave kita sampai 7,5 bulan, and it is actually paid maternity leave. I know buat teman-teman yang masih students kayak belum mau kali nikah atau belum mau kali punya anak gitu. It's still far away in the future gitu. Tapi sebenarnya when we look into the other side of coin, kalau misalkan dari HR view, misalkan company kasih opportunity buat karyawannya cuti melahirkan 7,5 bulan, and then we need to find temporary employee gitu. And then that's where I came into the company. So I replaced someone for a maternity leave, and then turns out there's an opportunity opens up, and then I become permanent. So another opportunity. So if we talk about opportunity, 7,5 bulan ada yang cuti, kita hire somebody supaya kita get to know this person better, and then we find some kind of like permanent opportunity. If it fits, then we can apply and we can hire. So I'm like the first hand person to experience that. Gitu. Itu sih mungkin the last strategy would be we need to understand our audience gitu. The trend sekarang tuh seperti apa? Mungkin ini juga terkait sama diversity and inclusion, not only about gender acceleration, but also generation inclusion. Gitu. If we really want them to be not afraid to try, then we need to be transparent. We need to be very informative through whatever channels that we have. Gitu. Jadi itu sih mungkin Nadira from the HR part. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. And that's a very interesting story to actually hear that Oh, this is first-hand experience. Someone coming in, actually taking over for a role of someone that was on maternity leave, which goes both ways. Kerjaan tidak terlantar, orangnya tetap bisa maternity leave dengan tenang, tidak diusik-usik ya, dia lagi maternity leave. Terus you actually create an opportunity for someone else to get a new job. Jadi buat teman-teman mungkin memang sekarang belum ya, mungkin tenang aja masih aku masih 3, 4, 5 tahun lagi. It's
Aku juga
okay.
belum kok. I never apa namanya dapat that kind of benefit. Tapi the other side of coin I get for the job that I get.
Yes, that's true. Jadi teman-teman tenang aja. Mungkin one benefit you don't get now, but you might get it later. Jadi tenang aja. Ini jangka panjang. We're planning long term, gitu ya. For Natasha, I think also going on to what Sarah mentioned a bit, there are specific, I guess, not just opportunity but efforts that they do, and you also mentioned that you do that. But if we're sharing with people out there that want to kind of start create that culture, start to create that environment, how would you advise to, put that foot in the door, right? And maybe from Sarah, just a bit of an addition, because you mentioned also kadang harus kasih edukasi ya kan, ibu-ibu, bapak-bapak, gini loh, this is why we need to help women in the workforce. Ini kenapa ini topik? Maybe you can share a bit about that after Natasha.
Okay, not gonna lie, I think the fastest and best strategy would be top down. You need to have, yeah, I think we're reading the same books. No, I think it has to be top down, right? You either have to have a female leader up there in the organization, or you have allies, male who are allies and understand all these things, so that the policies can be there formally and also informally juga bisa. Tapi ada juga, I mean, as on the other side of the coin, I think there are some things that you also can do gitu ya. I think for starter one, if you interview for jobs, always ask for like, what are the efforts or, policies, if there are any that you have to make this workplace more inclusive. That's one, right? You can always ask your employer because, any good company, any good employer, when they hire, they always, have a room for questions, right? By the end of the interview, they're like, "Do you have any questions for us, for me?" Blah blah. So ask these questions, right? Um, and also ask them about like, all the policies that matter for you. If either it's say maternity, paternity, or like any other relevant policies that you think might be important for you, or even like misalnya gini, gimana sih mobilitas di company ini? Misalnya sekarang saya masuk sebagai tim operasional gitu, bisa nggak sih nanti saya misalnya jadi product manager misalnya gitu ya. Jadi these things are important because in our company we've promoted someone from say intern to become full time, and also like people have moved role or job as well. So mungkin kita udah kehabisan waktu. I think
No, kita masih bisa lanjut kok, nggak apa-apa.
Oh segitu.
Silakan.
Okay, so I think lastly yang bisa dilakukan from apa ya, from an entry level employee perspective atau job interviewer, bisa tanya apa lagi ya? Mungkin kayak ada nggak sih budget buat upskilling atau L&D, program L&D-nya apa aja, learning development programnya apa aja? Mungkin itu penting. Kalau misalnya company-nya regional atau global, bisa tanya, saya ada kesempatan nggak sih nanti buat misalnya advancement ke other team gitu. Jadi I think all these things you will be able to assess gitu ya, apakah company ini tuh benar-benar bisa meng-empower you or support you or not. By the way, I have a differentiation actually on empowerment and support. Dicemplungin for me ya, is empowerment. Support for me, so empowerment for me is this: say you've never done this thing before, I ask you to do it because I believe you can do it. That's empowerment. Support for me is like if you make any mistake or if you F up, then I'm gonna say it's okay. You learn, you live and learn. Jadi that's how I characterize it, and like that's something that we implement in the company as well. That like it's okay to try, it's okay to make a mistake. What's important is that to learn from your mistake and move on.
Learn from your mistake and move on. Ini teman-teman ingat ya, ada langkah selanjutnya, move on from your mistake. Kadang-kadang yang jadi masalah buat apalagi yang muda ya, like you just starting your career, you started your job, you kind of really overthink the fact that you actually kind of slipped up. Kadang-kadang kalau aduh tadi salah kirim email misalkan, atau aduh tadi ada typo, ada mistype di dalam emailnya. Itu padahal it's a very minor mistake that yes, you learned it, you know about it, you don't want to repeat it, but you think about it for the next week. Kayak terus aja kepikiran, kayak ya gimana ya. Padahal maybe your boss or your supervisor also don't actually discuss about it. They're just like, okay, as long as you know, you don't repeat it, then we're okay, right? And I think there's a tendency for a lot of people to kind of overthink that and be stuck in the past, right? So, on that topic, Kanina, what we want to know a bit more also is about how, when we're talking about being stuck in the past, how do we actually help ourselves move forward? Is there anything that we can do, including any practical tips, maybe, if there are?
Okay. Well, to be not stuck in the past is basically first is to admit your mistake. Just admit that you are having a mistake. Like, this is a slip up and everyone make mistakes. Even, president make mistakes. So really don't beat yourself for it. Just admit it. And then when you are okay, then just once you admit that you have mistakes, and then it will help you to just move forward. Because a lot of us are actually not admitting that we have mistakes. We try to just, go around, especially go around the feelings of the guilt, of the shame of having mistakes, and then distract that feelings with something else. And then, but that mistakes is not being admitted, and then we are not moving forward from it. So just admit and, be okay about it.
Admitting that you're wrong is a very hard thing to do. It's a very hard thing to do, and I think a lot of people here would be able to actually feel the same thing. Kadang-kadang kalau kita ada kesalahan, ada kesulitan, minta tolong susah. Kalau salah pun kita menyalahkan diri sendiri. And I think that's something that everyone wants to kind of learn about, how it is something that's acceptable for us to actually say, iya ternyata aku salah, ini yang aku lakukan, tapi masih ada esok hari. There's still tomorrow. Yes, sometimes some consequences are larger than others. Kadang-kadang memang ya amit-amit gitu ya. Kayak misalnya anak SMP mau ujian, terus gara-gara ujiannya apa, dia misalnya masuk ke dalam sekolah apa. That's quite a big impact. But then again, you kind of have prepared yourself for it. You prepare yourself to study for it. Berarti kan ada usaha dari diri kita. So beating yourself up, as what Nina has mentioned, is something that, yes, you will go through it. It's like a stage of grief mungkin ya, kayak lagi berkabung. But then with grief, you kind of get through it at the end of the day. Akhirnya lewat juga, walaupun memang susah. Okay, so I think now we're going into the Q&A. So for the friends here, if you have questions, untuk teman-teman yang ada pertanyaan, boleh bahasa Indonesia, boleh bahasa Inggris, monggo silahkan. Please feel free to send across your questions. I think if not mistaken, you can share them also via Twitter. You can send them also via the Q&A box that is provided by at America. But while we wait for the questions to come in, we have a few other things that also popped up from the beginning. So there is an incoming question where in the beginning, during the Mentimeter, it was also highlighted that a lot of them questioned, like, is it actually possible to create equality or like to have an equal opportunity for women in the workforce? We'd love to also hear your own opinion on that. And based on the trends, especially, I think Sarah has also mentioned a lot about how the trends are actually visible now and you can see the impact of it. We'd love to hear what could actually be a physical experience for friends here. Jadi mungkin buat teman-teman juga mereka bisa ngerasain, oh maybe I'm not yet at work, or I'm just about to go into work, or I'm applying for work, or maybe I'm pivoting my career. What is it that's actually out there in the world? Mungkin boleh dari Sarah dulu?
Thank you Nadira. So buat aku mungkin ada faktor internal dan ada faktor eksternal gitu. So I've been practicing this self management thing. I often list down things that I can control and things that I cannot control. Gitu. So maybe the things that I can control is my drive, my passion, and then the boundaries that I can set for myself. Terus abis itu aku bisa apa namanya expand my learning channels, misalkan dari e-learning atau dari buku dan lain sebagainya, and then set my goals gitu. But I need to acknowledge that there are things in this world that I cannot control and make peace with it. So kayak the opportunity misalkan, we never know when the opportunity come. Tapi there's this mindset that I really admire nih dari bukunya si Dr. Carol S. Dweck juga, namanya athletes mindset. So the athletes, without them knowing the date of the Olympics, tapi mereka latihan setiap hari gitu. That's the thing that they control. Kita nggak mungkin kan si atlet itu kayak, nih mau ada tanding nih minggu depan lo latihan ya gitu. Tapi kan ternyata kita liatin, kita belajar dari para atlet-atlet yang sukses gitu ya. Mereka setiap hari latihan, bukan hanya latihan olahraganya aja gitu. Mungkin dia bulu tangkis, tapi dia latihan lari juga, dia latihan fisik juga, latihan mental juga. So that's how I adapt gitu. So connecting this with the opportunity and then creating, you know, inclusive workplace. Um, Not only about the system, we also need to be aware that there's the system, and we can be part of the system by also developing ourselves, and then meet in the middle gitu, karena apa namanya, it takes two to tango. Kalau misalkan ada sistemnya, ada policy-nya, ada KPI-nya, tapi turns out kitanya juga nggak ready, it would be a challenge as well. Because all in all, if we talk about companies, they're also pursuing for profits, right? If not, then bakalan bangkrut gitu. So whenever the opportunity comes, we better be ready. Dan caranya adalah dengan si athletes mindset itu. On top of the policy that we have shared just now in the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And having that athlete's mindset means that you're constantly kind of disciplined, right, towards perfecting your craft. This might be a bit personal, I think, for Kanina, and I think it's something that I also see because I follow your Instagram as a PSA. But like I saw something that Kanina usually shares is that it's okay, when you're building discipline, it's okay to commit yourself to when you're able to do it. Kayak misalkan, kalau Karina, I know you do Pilates, right? And then you kind of fit it into your schedule whenever you're able to. Can you maybe share a bit about how you, I guess, shape that into your routine? Karena buat aku, I think following your way has helped me much more than actually setting kayak, okay, tiap hari jam 7 aku bakal lari. Doesn't happen. It's like, yeah, last night I had to work late and then I don't wake up early, ya kan, atau, stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you for the question. I always say that it's better to celebrate your effort rather than your result. Because effort is something that you do every day, no matter how it look like. Jadi kalau misalnya if, for example, makan sehat, we try to eat healthy every day, but sometimes life happens, things happen, and sometimes we don't get to eat healthy, but we try. For example, kayak misal, aduh gila gue udah telat banget nih bangun gitu ya. Terus habis itu I have nothing on my kitchen other than bread, and that's it. So it's okay. Just celebrate the fact that, hey, I actually have time to eat this morning. Because if you don't eat at all, it's worse, isn't it? Because you don't have the energy then to go through the day until lunchtime, for example. And asam lambung lah dan segala macam mungkin, atau malah ngantuk malah jadi ke kopi kan. Jadi just celebrate that. Hey, I actually make an effort to eat. Just that. I think it's all about the mindset and how you're gonna move forward, rather than like I said, beating yourself up about it. And be grateful for the things. I think gratitude is the key as well, like being grateful for the things that you can actually do, rather than beating yourself up for the things that you cannot do.
Thank you very much. And yes, has celebrating the fact that you're able to do that today is something that I think a lot of us tend to forget. Kayak bahwa hari ini, oh, aku bangun 5 menit sebelum meeting misalkan. And you realize you're tired, right? And then your focus is like, oh my God, it's 5 minutes before the meeting. It's not like, thankfully, I still have 5 minutes. Walaupun sebenarnya panik juga sih. But like, to be fair, it's better than waking up 1 minute before the meeting. Seperti itu. Jadi, I think celebrating that fact, buat teman-teman mungkin kita sering mendengar gratitude, gratefulness, being happy, enjoying life. And something that we forget is actually being part of life. Kadang kita lupa bahwa kita harusnya menikmati hidup, harusnya senang, harusnya banyak harusnya lah yang we kind of force ourselves to feel, but then we don't really enjoy, we don't feel that we're living life. Like we're not present in our time. And ketika orang-orang bilang, oh oh mindfulness buzzword, ngomong doang gitu kan, banyak ya sebenarnya. There's a lot of people that say that, and to be fair, it can come off that way if you don't understand it. Kayak sebenarnya what is it being present? It's basically everything that these three ladies have mentioned. It's being conscious in your choices, being actively pursuing your opportunities, creating your boundaries, understanding that what you need, apa yang dibutuhkan oleh tubuh kita, oleh pikiran kita, dan juga tapi ada I had a friend, so she mentioned that healing, it's now a trend, right? Like it's not even like you need to get yourself properly checked or something. It's like it's a trend. Tapi dia bilang gini, I think one thing that was interesting was that she said, iya, when people think about healing, when people think about professional work, mereka mengaitkan healing itu melepaskan stres dari kerjaan yang berat gitu kan. Padahal sebenarnya right, healing is a whole different thing. It's actually doing the hard work, it's understanding yourself, memahami bahwa kita ini adalah individu yang berbeda, punya tujuan-tujuan yang berbeda, punya gaya berpikir, bekerja yang berbeda. Gimana sih, how can we build ourselves to become a better person? Ya kan? Dan itu cukup membantu ketika ada diskusi, how are we helping women in the workforce? How are we helping support other people to actually balance their life, ya kan? Gimana sih caranya kita memberikan kesempatan ini? Dan akhirnya understanding your boundaries also means understanding that you have responsibilities that comes with those boundaries. Mungkin kayak contoh yang tadi, aku kerjanya malam, mungkin aku akan mulai sedikit lebih siang, but then you still get your work done. You still fulfill your responsibilities. It doesn't mean that you let everything go. Lu melupakan itu semua gitu kan? Enggak. And one interesting quote that I got from a friend was that, janganlah kamu terlalu banyak healing with the wrong understanding, karena akhirnya it makes you feel entitled. If you do too much healing, you feel entitled, like, this is my life, I can do whatever I want, and you forget that you're a social person, you live with people gitu ya. Ada walaupun yes, you don't want to lose yourself, but you do have a certain, I guess, relationship with the people around you. Okay, so continuing on forward, we have a question for Natasha. So, you mentioned that you pursued your studies in the US. Could you share a bit more also about that and how the experience there impacted your work today?
I think I touched upon it earlier, right? Already that like living, studying, working there has influenced me in so many ways. I think one is that it's like that mindset that like, or it sort of reaffirmed my belief that everything is possible. Whatever you set your mind into, as long as like you set your mind into, and that mobility, anywhere upwards, horizontally is also possible. And maybe here in Indonesia kayak mungkin orang nggak di-encourage untuk berpikir seperti itu, atau memang karena banyak kekangan-kekangan, bukan kekangan ya, mungkin batasan sosial atau lah apa segala macam yang mikir kayak emang bisa ya kayak gitu, emang bisa ya kayak gitu. Tapi kalau di negara yang lebih bukan lebih ini ya istilahnya, just mereka kan memang tesisnya freedom 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 gitu ya. Jadi memang pursuit for like self freedom and happiness tuh memang sangat diutamakan. Jadi not saying that the other is more right than the other. Yeah, it depends on like how we apply it on our day-to-day life juga gitu. So I think how it influenced me is that it showed me that everything is possible. It shows me that many other people have done it before. So like in my journey, I wasn't alone. And I'm sure in your journey, you're not alone either kan. Kayak maybe, mungkin kayak when things get tough, right? This is what I usually think is that everyone else has been through the same. You're not, it's not that you're not special, but you're not, this is not an isolated problem. Everybody has gone through it. Jadi maybe kalau misalnya helpful, mungkin bisa juga baca experience orang-orang lain yang telah mengalami hal yang sama gitu kan. Misalnya kayak people that has been rejected over 1,000 times. or people that has failed schools multiple times but then became very successful in developing kapulidi, whatever, right? Like people can be successful in their own ways. Yeah.
Being successful in your own way. So that's a very, I guess, very nice thing to actually be reminded of, due to the fact that we kind of set a standard of success. Like a lot of people, including myself, like we kind of start off in places where, oh, kamu melihat, ah, itu role modelku. I want to be like her or him or whoever. But then you realize that, they have their own story, they have their own means of achieving it, of going through it. Mungkin apa yang dia dapatkan belum tentu kita dapatkan. And that's okay, right? Like a role model is someone to motivate you, but it doesn't necessarily restrict you. It limits you. Jangan sampai kayak, oh karena aku mau jadi kayak Sarah misalnya. Yaudah, what Sarah does, I need to do. Gitu kan. It doesn't work that way. Jadi untuk teman-teman yang mungkin, aku senang banget apalagi zaman social media sekarang ya. You always think of opportunities. You always see people living their best life. Oh, this is my best life. Gitu kan. That's the image a lot of people put right on Instagram. Apalagi sekarang, I don't know, you have a lot of these new social medias like Be Real or something. I don't remember. Like all of these. And like, oh, this is like me, the real me. And then I show you like unfiltered photos of myself. It's still a version of yourself that you're putting out there, right? And I think what we've been mentioning a lot about how to lead with compassion, how to be empathic, how to also understand who you're living with, who you're working with. These are examples of people out there that understand who they are. Jadi mungkin buat teman-teman di sini yang masih merasa sebenarnya aku tuh siapa sih, like outside of your name, let's say namaku Nadira. My name's Nadira. And then what? Like, who are you? Are you your job? Are you yourself? A lot of people associate themselves with their job, right? Like, oh, I am, let's say with Sarah, I'm a talent acquisition manager. And then you kind of forget who you are outside of that bubble, right? And that's something that I think a lot of people kind of start learning later on in life, where maybe, yes, your maturity is there, but I kind of wish, right, hearing especially from everyone's stories here, that was something I started looking for earlier on. Right? Sebenarnya, who am I? What am I doing? Why am I choosing to do these things? Like maybe there are external motivations, but is that really something that I want to pursue? So on that note and on that topic, we have a question for Sarah here. Because you're kind of on the younger age gap, right? Well, between the panelists, they want to understand how has it been, or what part of your journey do you feel you kind of found yourself, or are you still searching for yourself, even if that's the question?
That's a very hard question. Maybe I should also coach with Kanina after this. No, I'm still in the progress of doing so because what I learned from one of the female leaders at Nestle, which right now she's the head of factory in Vietnam. So she told me that finding ourselves, especially as a woman, is a never-ending story. I mean, right now you're single, and then tomorrow you're married, and then next week you have a kid, and then your kid is getting married, and so on and so on. There's always kalau ibunya bilang tuh segitiga yang tidak sama sisi gitu. Kadang kita punya prioritas yang berbeda, jadi kita harus mendedikasikan energi kita di prioritas ini. Mungkin saat anak waktu itu beliau cerita waktu anak saya baru lahir, ya saya nggak terlalu fokus sama karir saya pada saat itu. Saya fokus sama anak saya karena saya punya beberapa plan untuk dia. And then pas anaknya udah agak gedean, udah sekolah dan sudah bisa mandiri, baru bisa fokus balik lagi ke karirnya gitu. And then when the husband kerja overseas juga ada some struggles, ada some stories, some failures yang beliau ceritain ke saya gitu. Dan I believe that applies to me as well. Jadi kalau misalkan ditanya, have I found myself like full version of myself? Maybe not yet, because I don't want to define myself as my job position title or like the company that I work with atau kayak the project that I'm working with. Tapi I really want to be my whole self at that moment, depends on the situation gitu. So maybe at home I'm being a wife, I'm being a daughter, being a sister, and then at the office I'm being the mentor, and then I can be also the project lead and so on and so on. So it's situational. So yeah, it's part of the thing that I learned from this thing called self-management, and there's this subtopic called situational leadership. It's not leadership to lead others, but it's self-leadership to lead yourself, to keep boundaries, to develop yourself, and know when to stop and rest. So yeah, that's my answer.
You. Thank you. So turns out my mic is unavailable. But so Sarah, the fact that you mentioned it was a lot about self-leadership, which means that when we're talking about compassionate leadership, it's not just us to other people or us to team members, but it's also us to ourselves, right? And I think going on that topic, would love to understand, are there specific things that you would say you do? Like for me, right? For me, I would be, oh, in terms of compassion, I would be understanding that, oh, I need to rest. This is, I feel like I actually need to work out because it gets to that point where, oh, you stay at home so much, you're doing nothing but except sitting and typing. So you kind of realize, like, oh, I have to do this. But what would be your shape of self compassion?
Thank you. So my form of self compassion is to this thing that I learned from the book called Atomic Habits. Maybe most of you have read this book because it's very impressive self help book. Di situ dijelasin sama penulisnya bahwa if you wanna um, set a goal and be proud of yourself, you need to set an achievable goal gitu. So kalau misalkan aku bilang ke diriku sendiri, aku pengen baca buku setiap hari gitu. Then what's the definition of achievable goal for me gitu. Mungkin nggak di set pakai jam gitu karena I work in a very flexible workplace setup. Jadi I've been doing this for the last 2 months. Aku ibaratnya nargetin untuk baca buku 4 halaman aja sehari gitu. Dan menurut aku itu achievable, mau aku capek gitu, aku tetap bisa baca dan bukunya juga nggak perlu yang panjang gitu. I have like apa namanya very simple book, yang penting dia achievable gitu. So my self compassion, one of the form adalah untuk set achievable goal. Udah tahu itu pasti gampang gitu. I mean gampang as in itu bisa dilakukan dalam kondisi capek misalkan atau lagi banyak project dan lain sebagainya. Karena kalau misalkan too ambitious, itu juga nggak baik. I would disappoint myself every day, kayak aduh nggak jadi lari, nggak jadi apa olahraga dan lain sebagainya. Gitu, so set achievable goals and then you give yourself a reward. For me the reward adalah kayak sesimpel foto bukunya terus taruh di Instastory. Itu nggak ada apa namanya insentif berbentuk uang. Tapi I feel like when I share with others, it feels rewarding for me. So itu salah satunya sih, Nadira mungkin bisa dicoba sama teman-teman. Don't be so hard on yourself kayak kata Kanina tadi. We can be successful in our own way, quoting Kak Natasha as well. And that's one of the small success that I celebrate every day. Because I believe mau cuma 4 halaman, mau cuma misalkan menurut teman-teman 4 halaman kebanyakan ya, coba 2 halaman gitu. Misalkan 2 halaman masih kebanyakan, coba satu atau satu paragraf even gitu. Celebrate the progress gitu ya. Yang penting bukunya selesai at the end of the day. Nggak tahu kapan, mungkin tahun depan atau 2 tahun lagi. Yang penting we make progress every day. So I try to implement this kind of strategy of self-compassion in everything that I do, personally and also professionally. That's all. That's just one of the examples. Not.
Udah bisa. Thank you very much, Sarah. I think it's very motivating for me also to kind of understand and see that you have enough self-awareness to know what your limitation is, right? So you mentioned, oh iya, aku nanti bakal disappointed kalau nggak bisa. And then you realize that upfront, right? Like, oh, kalau misalnya nggak nyampe nanti disappointed, nanti bete, nanti oh jadi panjang ya kan? And then you realize that, okay, then to minimize my self-disappointment, let's make it easy. You know, we don't expect too much, we don't deliver too much, but it's just enough. And that I think is a very amazing example. Karena kadang banyak banget buat teman-teman, terutama mungkin kalau buat aku zaman sekolah dulu ya, kayak there will be a lot of things that I want to do. You have a list, kayak ada listnya, aku mau kerjain ini. And then you overcommit to yourself. nggak ada loh yang maksa-maksa kamu buat ngerjain itu, nggak ada gitu. Tapi kayak keinginan diri sendiri tuh tinggi, like it's a very high bar that you set for yourself, and then you disappoint yourself, and then you become sad by yourself gitu kan. So it's a cycle that when you know that you're that type of person, that shape of compassion, sharing that you're able to actually understand that this is a part of you and you accept it is also a good thing. Kayak Sarah, it's a very well example of sharing that I know that this is part of me, this is how I work, and this is how I can ensure that I don't go through it. So I think I would love to hear from Natasha also on the same question. So what type of compassion, or like what forms of self-compassion do you give to yourself?
Right. So I used to have like this fixed mindset that like, okay, I have to achieve like these things by this age and these things by this certain time. Until I realized that actually goals move, right? It's always nice to have a goal so that you feel like you work towards something. But then I think a type of compassion that I have is that goals move, goals always change. As long as uh, I think knowing your worth and knowing yourself have a lot to do with that. So other than setting achievable goals, I also set like motivational goals, because those are like different type of goals. Yeah, the goals that you do every day, the goals that you need to achieve by a certain period of time. So yeah, I think I try to balance those so that you don't feel like you know too too down or too sad kalau misalnya ada yang nggak achieve. So I think that's one way. Tapi pertanyaannya tadi gimana caranya untuk lebih compassionate
Self-compassion.
sama diri kita sendiri ya. Well, nggak cuma soal goal sih ya kalau kayak gitu. Misalnya kayak I see this a lot in women. Misalnya kayak women try, misalnya we ask them, okay, so how do you think you perform? Oh, I think I perform okay. How do you think you perform relative to your colleague? Siapapun itu. Oh, he or she is also doing well. Don't do that, right? Like, I mean, maybe if he or she's really doing well, okay, but like be more objective, speak up more, articulate more in a way that it will benefit you. Because I feel like most women in workplace don't really know how to express themselves, or they're maybe too compassionate malahan. Jadi kayak kayak cover for their teammates a lot. Maybe it's good, maybe most of the time it's not. Because jadinya kayak whatever progress, whatever achievements that you do, jadinya malah goes unnoticed gitu. So maybe that don't cover for your teammates and always strive for advancement or progression gitu kan. Kebanyakan orang kalau ditanya, so like what do you think of your growth kayak for the next 6 months, blah blah. They're like, oh, I'm happy where I am. It's good if you're truly happy where you are. But if you're really not and you want to move, move upward atau move kemana gitu, itu something that you need to speak up about gitu kan. Kalau nggak, kalau tadi kalau kata Sarah kan yang nanya juga bukan cenayang, nggak tahu kan. Kayak what are your aspirations gitu. Jadi itu sih. Maybe other thing is that the guilt that new mom has ya. Biasanya kalau abis misalnya new mom balik ke workplace tuh kayak, oh, I feel like I have a lot to catch up on. So I think having this program whereby they get assistance, they get like more apa ya, lebih di loop in aja ke more projects in the company and stuff, itu will be helpful.
Thank you so much, Natasha. And I think on that specifically, there was a part where you mentioned, oh, banyak juga yang ngerasa kadang-kadang, yeah, they're not specific. They're just like very objective, very high level. Gimana kabarnya? Baik. Sehat? Alhamdulillah. What does that mean? Right? Like, Alhamdulillah, is that good? Is that bad? Are you bersyukur karena ya lagi sakit tapi nggak apa-apa kok gitu kan, itu juga alhamdulillah ya. So I think there was this one experience for me specifically where I've been, and I was talking to someone, kind of asking them, and just like bear in mind, this is a situation where it's a casual situation, ya kan? Kita nggak like supervisor, no, it's just a casual talk, like, hey, how has it been? Are you where you want to be? Gimana kabarnya? Kamu gimana setelah mulai? Udah belajar apa aja? Are there skills that you want to find, right? And then they're like, well, kayak gimana maksudnya gitu kan? What do you mean by well and Ya kayaknya sih cukup. Kok kayaknya?
Ya atau enggak, ya gitu deh.
Nah iya, ya gitu deh. Ya gitu deh itu apa? Bener, like I don't know how I can help you. I don't know how other people can help you or whether we can provide opportunities for you because we don't know, I guess, what you yourself want. Karena kita memang ada kejadian kayak misalnya kemarin we had a session with other women and then we did ask them kayak, hey, you know, are you truly happy? And we do have women that are like, you know what, I don't actually want to go up. Like they're already in a leadership position, to be fair. Mereka ada di head position gitu kalau nggak salah. Dan mereka bilang, I'm content with where I am. Aku berkeluarga, aku punya anak.
And that's okay.
Exactly. The fact that they knew that they were truly happy with that, that's something that I feel we would love to tell you that, you know, it's okay. It's okay to be there. It's okay to be that far. And it doesn't mean that everyone, you know, becoming a leader has to always become a leader. You become a leader in different types, different parts, situational leadership, different roles, right? And I think what Natasha, what Sarah has been mentioning has already highlighted that quite a lot. And I hope women out there are actually able to kind of bring it upon them to say that, hey, you know what? It's okay. It's okay to be where I am today. It's okay to be where I am tomorrow. It's okay to see the progress that I have. One last question. I think we still have time. This one actually is for Kanina. So the question is here. You started off as a fashion designer, which means you worked with a lot of other people. How did you manage that during that time? And then now feeling that you're working with yourself, what's the significant difference?
The significant difference was I had a team. I used to lead a team of 20 people, I think, and working with manufacturers and then working with companies as well, shipping companies and retails and etc. For now, it's more like working towards people, like personally. And then if talking about their goals, and then like you say, it's very different, I think, because back then I was more focused on the company goals and then what would be best for the company, like the profit and everything. But now it's more towards what would be best for you as my client. And talking about like personal goals as well, I think like in different roles, like you mentioned, I think we tend to forget that we have different roles in life. We tend to forget, for example, myself, other than a coach, I'm also a mother, I'm also an ex-wife, I'm also a sister, I'm also a daughter, I'm also a girlfriend, and all of that. And sometimes we forget that all of this needs our attention to have goals as well. If you're a daughter to your parents, then what kind of daughter that you want to be? If you're a mother to your kids, then what kind of mother do you want to be? And then sometimes we tend to forget that. We are more focused on the work because that's what, most people think that will enrich their life. But it's not that, right? It's actually about having a balance. Like if you have a plate and if you eat healthy, then you don't want your plate just filled with carbs or only protein, right? Or only fat, because that wouldn't be nice to look at. And then, you want it to be balanced. You want to have all of the quality food, quality things in life. And same thing with roles. I think if we look at our life that way, I think it will, we have more balance and more healthier and happier life in general.
Thank you very much, Kanina. One thing that we kind of skipped on was actually also understanding. You mentioned this balance, you mentioned the harmony. What is your act of self compassion?
Oh, my active self compassion now is actually not to be hard on myself. I used to be very hard, like the very, very hard on myself. I wouldn't admit that I had mistakes. I had made mistakes. I would have to tell myself that I'm right all the time and prove myself that I'm right. Oh my God, I, I sound awful, but But now I'm actually like able to talk about it and talk to you guys in front of you guys that it's okay to make mistakes, that and having failed in life doesn't mean that you will, you have your life down the drain all the time. I think that is self-compassion. I think for me, the biggest one so
Yes. Thank you very much, Karina. And that's an act of self compassion I can relate with because I'm also hard on myself as an FYI. So I think that is very helpful for us. And now that we're nearing the end of the session, I'd love to hear if you can share for each panelist um, a few words of not just maybe confirmation, validation, but also kind words of affirmation, maybe for these uh, participants out there. Um, yes, we can start from the end while we wrap it up.
far. Okay. Think I think I'm gonna relate back to boundaries and then how you are going to create boundaries for yourself. I think in order to do that, you need to go inward and be able to talk and then communicate your needs. Soalnya kayak tadi Sarah bilang juga, kita semua tuh your boss, whoever it is, your partner, your parents, your friends, your kids, they are not cenayang. They are not. So the only thing to do is only just, to communicate, say that, you know what, I need this. I need rest. But rest tadi jangan dijadikan sebagai alasan ternyata jadi tidak mengerjakan pekerjaan atau tidak melakukan pekerjaan. There should be like but when you need something, you have to communicate it. I need you to listen to me, for example. I need you to, put me in this meeting. I need you to, that kind of thing. Or I need myself to be more compassionate towards myself. um, Speak it out loud and clear, so then others can hear it, and then they can help you.
Thank you very much, Hanina, for the last wrap up from your end. And being communicative is definitely a skill that needs to be learned. It's definitely a skill that some people feel like, oh, I'm communicative. I tell you things that I want and what I don't want. But sometimes you realize you're kind of randomly communicating your things. You don't communicate with a purpose. And that, I think, is what makes people kind of get lost in translation between each other. Thank you, Kanina. Natasha?
Right. I think few words from me is have courage to start something. Even if you feel you're underqualified, like everyone will, most people would feel that way, or some people will feel that way. So just start something. And one way that I can share on how I track my progress is that I don't keep a daily journal, but I keep like this annual, I have like this annual writing ritual, usually before or after New Year, of like what I learned that year, what I unlearned, how I change, how my views have changed. And then to see like year after year how I change, I think to read that, progressively has been quite eye opening. Like, oh my God, I'm a very different person 5 years ago to who I am now. And that's one way to, not just to track your progress. It's not always about progress, but also then to know yourself. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That constant reminder and review, self review, I think is definitely something a lot of people need. We tend to forget because it takes time to actually look into yourself and see what is it or what have I gone through in the past year, even the past day. Kadang orang-orang mau refleksi harian aja suka males gitu, apalagi ini setahun kan. So actually getting the discipline to bring yourself up and bring yourself to look where you've grown is something that can help you not today but in the long run. Okay, so Sarah.
Thank you. So maybe circling back to the theme today, to the topic, which is unleashing the power of women. Before we go into that, we need to think about ourselves. So how do I unleash the power of myself? I mean, what kind of power that we want to unleash in what kind of situation? And then how should I do that without damaging myself? So maybe that's something that I learned for the past 2 years, especially during the pandemic times, because I feel like if we're being too hard on ourselves, the disadvantage will be on ourselves as well. It will go back, and the circle will keeps going like that. So we never know when the opportunity come, but when they do, we better be ready. So that's it from me. Thank you very much, Nadira and everyone.
Thank you very much. Please give a big round of applause for everyone here for our amazing panelists today. Just a quick recap while we wrap it up. So, from this session today, we have been able to learn a lot, not just about how being compassionate to women in the workforce will help you and help the company, of course, but also how you can become the real you or a compassionate version of yourself. And out of this, we've learned from Nina that we could create boundaries, how to actually create proper boundaries, how to be communicative and be actively aware of our communication. Kita punya niat, punya tujuan, kalau berkomunikasi nggak asal. And then we have the courage. We've learned from Natasha the courage to actually start. You might feel underqualified today, but because you tried it out, you will be qualified tomorrow. Jadi teman-teman kalau misalnya memang masih rasa masih bertumbuh, masih berkembang nggak masalah. It's a journey that you will go through. It's a journey that you will have to go through before you actually meet the future you. Jadi untuk teman-teman, we also learned especially from Sarah, what kind of power do you have or what kind of power do you want to achieve? And understanding who you are, what you want to do, and where you want to be will be able to help build you to become all of the other things that we actually mentioned before, to understand your boundaries, to understand your communication, to understand your role in the workforce, and of course, how to actually play a supportive role in the workforce. As Natasha shared, we should be conscious, we should be actively pursuing it, and we should be providing directly for the women there. That is it for today, friends. Thank you very much for coming. Once again, thank you very much for At America for providing the space and the time. And we hope to see you again next time. Nadira signing out.
All right, can we give another round of applause for our amazing panelists here, along with our lovely moderator? Thank you so much, Ka Nina, Ka Natasha, Ka Sarah, along with our lovely moderator here, Ka Nadira, for today's very fruitful session. Hope everyone find it valuable as well. So there are so many ways we can do to contribute more to the society as a women. And also, regardless of the field that we are currently working in, as long as we do it with full of compassion and being passionate about it, and always remember that each of us has different definitions of being successful. So just continue to try to be our best version of ourselves, and it's not me versus other women, but now it's me versus me. So earlier in this event, we asked the audience a question, if you remember, and the question for today was, who was the first woman to become the Secretary of Labor in the US? And the correct answer to that is C, Frances Perkins. Shout out to today's lucky one at Quinta Alaya from Instagram for answering correctly. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating in our question of the day. Don't forget to tune in next time and catch a change to get a live shout out from us. You can also contribute more to our society by submitting your event ideas through our website at www.atmerica.or.id. Select created event and go to collaborate with us. And your event might be featured here soon. For more updates of our upcoming events, follow us on our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at ATMerica for interesting contents, giveaways, and so much more. Also, click the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. With that, it is time to say farewell. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. My name is Hasna. See you on the next At America event. Bye bye, everybody.